Hey guys, welcome back. We are now on episode 3 of the DAX anti-pattern series here with Daniil. Each time we've done these, lots of great positive feedback, so I'm very encouraged by the community support you guys have been giving. And Daniil, thanks for coming back again. I'm excited to see what cool anti-patterns and functions we're going to explore today in DAX.
Thanks, Reed. Everyone, welcome back to episode 3 of our series. Today, we're going to speak about some table functions. One of them is summarize, and you'll see that in a second. If you watched the previous 2 episodes, you might notice that this file is quite different from what we had before. So previously, we used the AdventureWorks sample file from Microsoft. Today, the file is also from Microsoft, but it's not a sample file. It's a data protection summary file. So if you have sensitivity labels configured in your organization, then you'll have this automatic report. Although I'm not sure if you can download it these days. I managed to download it a while back, and I just saved it just because I saw some juicy DAX code which I wanted to share with the world. So there are a few things that I would maybe highlight in this file, but today we'll focus on just one of them, which is the date period table. Let's look at it. And might be a tiny bit small, so let me try to zoom in, but then it breaks. But okay, that's better than small text anyway. So, Reed, do you see anything peculiar here?
Let's see. We got add columns. Okay, so I always start from the inside. So you are calculating the date table for date ranges between today and -7 + 1.
Mm-hmm.
Interesting. So I guess why not just do -6 or -31? Yeah, you're adding and subtracting on this like that. So that's a curiosity I have. Outer section is summarized, and then you're adding a column called period, and as well the period is the name of the column with a value of 1, 2, and 3. Okay, so you're creating a 3-period date table that I'm assuming related back to your date table with a relationship. Yeah, the only thing that so far stands out as odd is you're adding and you're subtracting and then immediately adding back in within the same section. So
yeah, it's kind of interesting, I would say, although maybe it's done for readability a bit, just to tell the reader that there are 7 days here and like 30 days here and 90, because it's actually not 6, it is 7 days. Because if we used -7, then it would be 8 days. Because you see, dates between includes both start and end. And I guess
that's true. Exactly. Like this at least is it's almost like you're doing it this way to have a note, potentially.
Yeah. Now the other things that stand out to me is that there's a lot of repetition in this code. Like the only way in which lines 3, 4, and 5 differ is this difference in numbers here, 7 and 1. That's the only difference. Now, the other thing is like summarize. What does summarize usually do? Usually we're grouping by some column, right?
That's true. It's a group by function. You're summarizing up to the granularity specified by whatever columns you're either pointing it to or generating inside of there.
Yeah, and then the date table is already at the grain of date. So what are you doing by using summarize? You're just selecting one column, right? You're not summarizing anything. You're simply selecting one column.
Yeah, now, I mean, you could do add column values. Or add column calculate table values against that and remove the summarize potentially entirely.
Yeah. Or you could use select columns, right? Just to select one column.
True. And you could just apply you could also apply a filter function against like filter values with the dates between option to generate your filtered date column date range.
Yeah, but then if we really think about, do we really need calculate table date by using dates between? So it's like we take the date table, we apply a filter by using dates between, and dates between already has the column that we want, which is the date.
Exactly. Yeah, I think just filter against the date column would probably be really easy to do.
Yeah, or like dates between, I guess, is okay because it's kind of short, and it already gives you one column. So realistically, we could get rid of calculate table, we could get rid of summarize.
Yep.
Like this. Dates between, and then we add the period column like this, right? So I think, wait, I think I missed parentheses somewhere. Yeah, now it's okay. So if we do the same thing for the other rows, I think that's gonna be a bit better. Like
that's
this.
Right. And the nice thing with this is I mean, I even forget this sometimes, is the dates between can return a table itself, like the output from it, which can be used in the add column section, because it's so often used in most patterns as a filter. It's calculate blank, dates between is the filter, but like the filter itself, or that function is outputting for add columns and a single column table of that date range, so that can immediately be added to without having to like use values or anything else.
Yeah, that's right. Now, actually, let me copy this to a different formula so that we can compare later. So I'll create date period. No, I cannot do it from here. I'll create a new table called date period B, and let's save it like this. Now, apart from dates between, is there a similar function that can give us also a one column date table by specifying some periods?
A single function for this, I mean, because a value obviously returns a single column distinct, but you already have date, which is distinct. Isn't it? I think there's one that's like dates and period.
That's right, dates and period. And I think in this example, it will work much better. Why? Because then we can specify the start, which is going to be today. And we specify the number of intervals, which is going to be -7. We don't need +1 anymore.
Yeah.
And we'll just say day here as the period, right? And I think, like personally, I like this better because first of all, we don't have to call today twice, and we don't have to do +1 anymore, because you see, it will go back this number of periods, but then it will not include that last bit.
Was it you or someone else who told me that today does not actually require the open close parentheses in there?
No, it was true. In the first episode, it was the true function. Today.
It was the true function. That's right. Yeah, I was trying to remember because it's like the only function in DAX that does not require the parentheses.
Yeah. Yeah. Let me just write this like this, and it's in period like this, and we'll do this and this, and yeah. Okay, so this is already better. Now let me go back to the date period table for a moment and notice that there is a calculated column called sort index.
Ooh, there should be a switch true there.
Yes, first of all, you're right. Switch true would work much better here. Now, another thing is, if you think about, is this sort index or is it period? Like in my mind, this isn't period. This is sort index.
They're accomplishing the same. Yeah. Well, hold on. Do you mean the way that they're labeled, or what do you mean by that?
Yeah, labeled. Yeah.
Well, yeah, exactly. No. So I mean, you shouldn't be sorting off of text. And like I don't even know if that's stored appropriately because it's a string.
Yeah, that's right. And another thing is, I cannot think I know why they've done it this way. So usually you would have some labels here. So you would have, say, last 7 days, last 30 days, last 90 days. And then you would create some numeric column, say 1, 2, 3. But they've done it the other way around. They've done the numeric column first, and then they've done it with the labels here. Now, why?
You could also embed it entirely direct into the DAX generated table. You could put both columns into there because you can add as many columns and fields as you need to.
I agree. Yes, by using add columns here, we can add more columns, and we will not need to create a calculated column here. I was gonna make a fine point as to why they've done it this way and not the other way around.
Okay.
That's because this way will work. But if you do it the other way, if you create a numeric column based on labels, it will not sort. Now, I actually have a blog post on this.
You get hit with a I think it's just if you get hit with a circular dependency error when you do that, right? If you create a calculated column off of another calculated column, it's self-referencing, so you can't sort one or the other. It's one reason that there's been times where I've gone into Power Query to create both, just because column B requires data from column A, but if it's made in DAX, it won't allow you to link the two of them in a sort function.
Yeah, well, let me copy this again, and we'll do an illustration. It's in period sort, okay? And we'll copy the sort index column as well, like this. Yeah, by the way, referencing columns without table names isn't best practice, but in this case, I'm kind of glad they did it because it saved time for me because I didn't have to adjust the table name. so that was good.
That's fair.
Yeah.
There's also one little ugly icon that's in that table that's something that any of us professionals building, like outside of like a demo file, would never have. But the little calendar icon that you see there.
Yeah.
The auto generated date table, which is the burden of many self-taught developers who don't realize the performance and storage costs those have.
Yeah. Okay, so let's try to sort this table by period. It works. Okay, now let's undo this. And let me do a new column. Sorry, let me change the code slightly, like this. Sorry. So we'll do this the way I think they intended initially.
Yeah.
Okay, and now we'll change the sort index column to this. 7 days, then it's 1. Okay. 2, and then 3. Okay. Okay, now let's try to sort period by sort index. Nope, that's not working.
Exactly.
So this is just a tiny bit of out of scope of this video. I do have a blog post on this, and another thing you should be aware of when you sort by columns. When you use sort by columns, you think you know everything about it. There are fine, details in this. So we'll link to this blog post. So,
yep, and I did a similar video on circular dependencies related to a DAX generated calendar table that's linked back to the calendar table source one. And there's actually a great article by SQL BI that talks about how to modify the code, because I believe with some circular dependencies, it's slightly out of scope, but it's the implicit blank row that's included is the thing that causes the issue. So once you account for that and get rid of that through a values or a distinct or something, then it allows you to make a circular a join without or a relationship without running into that issue.
That's right. That's right. Okay. So the thing that Reid suggested we do is instead of creating a calculated column, we add columns right here in the code. So let's do that. So And let's actually call it properly as well. So period is going to be last 7 days, and then it's going to be sort index one. Okay, let's just copy this between the period and number, like this, and let's change it to 30 and 90. Okay,
Perfect.
so again, this is better than having calculated columns, and of course you can sort period by sort index, no problem at all.
Mm-hmm.
Now, is there anything else we can improve here? There's still a lot of repetition, isn't there?
Yeah, I mean,
can we do anything about it?
Exactly, yeah.
So, what can we do? It's a bit unfair on Reed because he didn't know that we're going to talk about it in advance.
I mean, the only thing I can think of immediately is technically if you wanted to create a single add column row in here, you could also move this logic into, calculated columns and then have this shorter. It depends on where you wanted to store the code, because then you could have the calculated column identify the rows and then make the flags after the fact. But I think I would assume you're probably going to write the measure where essentially first the thing that's going to happen is it's going to generate the table with a single range from -7 to -90, or from today all the way back, and then the second part of the subquery would then create the column identifying the date range and then and then maybe do the flag. So that's my one theory.
We might be able to use dates and period just once, and we might not even need add columns or union. We can use the generate table for this, generate function, which is a table function.
Mm-hmm.
So let's do generate. Now, for generate, what's changing?
You want to exit out of the drop. That way they can read the IntelliSense the script. There we go. Perfect. Okay.
Yeah. So generate needs two tables. The first one will be iterated over, and then it's going to be a cross join like the IntelliSense says. So what's going to be our first table? What's the table that has some changes or periods? Let's just hard code the periods by using data table. And we'll do period, which is a string, and then we'll do sort index, which is an integer, okay? And we'll need the actual values. Let's just close it like this. Okay, now let's, the values like this, a period is gonna be last 7 days. Actually, let's just copy this and get rid of this. And comma here, and I'll copy this. So it's going to be 30, 90. Actually, let's change 1 to 3 into something meaningful, like 7, 30, 90. You'll see why in just a bit. So this is data table. This is closed. Okay. The second table is going to be dates and period. So the first argument is date. The second is going to be today, okay? The third is going to be minus sort index, which exists in data table, and then it's just day. And let's get rid of everything else. Isn't this much better?
I'd say it's easy. It's easier to read. I will say the level of DAX expertise in this one is more advanced than the other one. So like I would say there could be an argument made for either or. The other one is probably easy to understand for somebody less familiar with DAX, but this would be kind of like a learning edge for them to get used, because data table is not a particularly common DAX function for people to use typically. But this is a very useful example of when you can use it for sure.
Yeah, data table is maybe rarely used because usually when you want to hard code something, you will probably use the what is it called, enter data functionality. Like here, enter data. The problem is that it will create a Power Query table, and here we don't want that. Like we could use enter data, but then we would have a copy of that table somewhere, like this. And I only wanted this table to exist within this function. Then the generate is admittedly a bit more advanced than, say, summarize or add columns. Like you need to understand how it works.
Exactly.
So Reed is right. This is a bit more advanced, but then it's cleaner. So if you want to get better at DAX, you should explore other functions.
Yep. And I think this is a great example of both using the generate function as well as the data table to, within this case, produce like a subquery to then merge back together with the dates and period to create those rows associated with this 7, 30, and 90 leg.
Yep. And
very cool.
Once we accept this, let's just confirm that the results are actually the same. So date period, this is the initial one. Date, period, sort index. Let's ignore the labels for now. Now this is the table that we created. The column order is a bit different potentially, and the formatting, it doesn't matter. We can format it ourselves. Still, we can take the period column and sort it by sort index.
Excellent. Yeah.
So that still works. So yeah, this is what I wanted to discuss in this episode. Hopefully you found it useful.
Yeah, and I think this is a great dip into the deep end of DAX for sure, and to get people more familiar with functions that can do a lot of advanced, I wouldn't say transformations, but advanced computing to create especially generated tables versus just a measure.
Yeah, that's right.
Perfect. Thank you so much for sharing this.
Thanks.
All right, everyone. Until next time.
Thank you so much for watching. Please don't forget to like, comment, or share this video. Plus, if you have any comments for a future video, go ahead and add that to the comment section down below. Now, if this is your first time to my channel, or you want to see more of these awesome videos, please click that subscribe and notification button. Also, feel free to show your support by becoming a channel member.